Yeah, now we are.
Stream's all working.
Pretty. Just wait for everyone to join first. Good evening everyone and welcome along to TTML F4. We are here for Season 6, round number 7 of the Championship as we take in the Canadian Grand Prix from the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. As you can tell, I am not a Dutchman, I am Mr. James Head, going to be taking you to the stream as always for tonight certainly, for TTML F4. Conti unavailable for tonight, so luckily you've got me for the next hour and a half. And joining me in the commentary box, probably the most northern commentary box that we'll ever have in TTML, it is Mr. Funky Chicken. Funky, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. How about you?
I'm doing really, really well. Excited for the F4 action tonight?
Yeah, it's been a nice long break, but it's nice to get back into it, and I'm hoping for a good race.
I think it will be a good race. If it's anything like F2 last night, we should be in for a very, very good race. We might even be in for changeable conditions as well. Before we cut into the drivers' standings and everything, we'll run through that in just a second. Just to throw a bit of a shout out there, we received news, sadly, in the league racing community over the last few days or so, that NSX Mads, one of the NSX drivers in other leagues, you might have recognised him from the 24 Hours of F1 event, sadly passed away last month. In fact, it was a month, I think, to his passing yesterday, and it's so unfortunate. I think only 26 years of age, and our thoughts, of course, all of us here in the TTML and in the league racing community are with Mads, his family, his friends, and the NSX team at what I'm sure is a very, very sad time for everyone. And to only think he was 26 as well, and still had the full life ahead of him. But we'll now move on, of course, to the drivers' standings. And looking at the standings, Funky, Yellow obviously out on top, 153 points. Noah, though, right in behind, 22 points off him.
Yes, Noah's showed extraordinary pace this season, especially compared to his last season, where he was quite far off the pace of Zam and Nelly. He's been right up there, challenging for the wins every race, and he just needs to rely on a Nelly mistake this race around just to get himself back into contention and being level or even ahead on points at the end of this race.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think, honestly, NSR will be probably looking in and thinking, we've got a 1-2 in the standings. It's unbelievable to see. 21 points, 22 points, I should say, separating the top two. But Scuba Steven, third on 95. We were saying just before we came live that Scuba has missed a few races. Not sure if he's actually attending tonight. I can't see him, certainly, within the lobby so far. But Scuba there in third on 95 points, of course, an F2 driver last season. Storm in fourth on 78, who I like to call Cautious Storm. Hopefully not going to be like that tonight. Callboy in 5th on 63 points, Zam in 6th on 48, and a big gap actually all the way down from 6th down to 12th, 13th position covered by around 10 points or so. So Zam in 6th, Maxi in 7th, Atlas Copo in 8th, Charlie in 9th, and Key rounding off the top 10, and they're tied on 43 points roughly. Black Phoenix in 11th and 42, Ivy Bryn Mike in 12th on 41, Tonsuri 13th on 39, Dundee in 14th on 36, Longcart in 15th on 32, bit of a gap then to Lazy, Gendrick, Maximus, Ray Meader and Kermit, who are the 20 drivers to have scored points so far this season, certainly from the standings that we're looking at. Looking at the team standings as well, the constructors a little bit closer, I think, in terms of the overall teams. Alfa Romeo leading the way on 196, Ferrari in second on 173, and roughly the same amount of points separating the top two constructors.
Yeah, because I'd say Alfa Romeo have definitely been the more consistent team, with Kiki consistently finishing and picking up solid points even after mistakes, whereas Black Phoenix has been struggling with some connection issues and disconnecting from lobbies, which has definitely not helped the Scuderia Ferrari team.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think both Ferraris, certainly one Ferrari here and Noah, I think Ferrari obviously have picked up the majority of the points from Noah, and it's a bit like F2 to be honest, where obviously Alfa Romeo, in the flip side, have been scoring out more points than obviously the AlphaTauri team of Noisy and of Jorg in F2, and then AlphaTauri of course closed in the gap because Ferens didn't even finish the race yesterday, which I think I've ruined for probably a few of you, but I really hope I haven't. Hassan third on 127 points to fill out the rest of the standings. McLaren in 4th on 121, Mercedes in 5th on 92, Alpine in 6th on 67, Williams in 7th on 64, Red Bull in 8th on 53, AlphaTauri in 9th on 58, and Aston Martin in 10th on 56 points. And it looks to me the drivers now beginning to ready up for the Canadian Grand Prix in Canada. Certainly a track that I absolutely hate, but I absolutely love to commentate on.
I've never commentated on it before, this will be my first time, and I absolutely love this track, this game, for some reason. I weren't much of a fan of it last game, but I feel like the curbs have added a lot more realism and a lot more skill that's needed to nail this track, especially on one lap, so it's going to be interesting to see who'll come out on top.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think obviously Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, we've got the Wall of Champion chicane, it claimed a couple of victims last night. I think certainly one of the drivers in F2 in qualifying ended up crashing there. Honey Badger had a brake failure in qualifying as well, so obviously a little bit frayed in terms of that, but hopefully we're going to be seeing some really good action around, of course, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as I've already mentioned, 4.3 kilometres and then 2.7 mile, the 14 turns awaiting the guys out on track around a man-made island, of course, in the centre of Montreal. Of course, that is the capital of Canada, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's not. It's Ottawa, I think. Honestly, I'm terrible. I'm already getting things wrong, and we haven't even gone into qualifying just yet. But there we are. But, of course, Montreal, Canada, it's one of those tracks where, obviously, the drivers, I think, hate, but we love to commentate on. Your first time. How is it to drive, though, on this game?
It's very tricky as well, especially with how easy it is just to go a little bit over the white line to pick up warnings, so you have to be extra careful to avoid it, and especially with the curbs now, you have to take it so cautious or else you're going to spin, crash, get wing damage, and it's race over just like that, so got to see the drivers taking it carefully or they're going to end up in the wall, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. So, Storm and Charlie, by the way, in the comments section, having RIP Mads running his flag number and a helmet for the legend, which is really good to see. Of course, Storm and Charlie, I think, knew Mads very well in the league I commentate on a Tuesday night. There was a really good tribute that myself and the rest of the guys paid on a Tuesday night, of course, there. And so unfortunate about his passing, 26 years of age, remember, still the whole life ahead of him, and obviously really, really going to be a miss within the league racing community, which I'm sure is a community that you absolutely love and adore. Dundee failed to ready up within 30 seconds. Hopefully that doesn't cause a few issues with the lobby, but we are now getting into qualifying, and a little bit of a difference actually to F2. Reminds me a bit of like the start of the race yesterday, where it's overcast and there's a threat of rain.
That's a bit surprising because Canada, it rains a lot. We saw, was it in 2011, that race, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep.
There's lots of rain around this track, so it wouldn't surprise me if we also see some more in the race and by the end of this qualifying session.
Well, honestly, I think I likened F2 last night to the 2011 race. It was a bit like that, to be honest. Obviously, Noisy was on the podium, finished in second there, and he pretty much was at the back of the field around lap 7, lap 8, so pretty much did a Jensen Button from that point onwards. The first cars, though, coming out on track here for F4, and they're coming to the end of the pit lane. It's one of the McLarens, I think, that is coming out first. It is FRL Charlie. Charlie, of course, running that red helmet, of course, to celebrate Mads' life, which is really good to see, and obviously running his number yellow as well, championship leader. He's running the flag of Mads, his number 19, and a suit and helmet to pay tribute as well, which is really good, I think. Honestly, we did plan a minute silence, but I got told by the head of NSX not to overdo the actual tribute to Mads, so that's why we started off the stream by paying tribute to him. But it's good to see, though, a few drivers paying tribute, which I think just comes to show the level of respect he actually had in the league racing community.
Yeah, it just shows how tight this community can be at times, so it can get a bit toxic between some drivers at some times, but if anything ever happens, we all know we've got each other's back, which is great to see.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think, honestly, it gives the right sort of tribute as well. There's obviously so much toxicity, I think, within the community on times, certainly within different league racing communities, but it's good when we all pull together. However, back to the action. Charlie is coming to the wall of champion chicane through 13 and 14, and now sets about on his lap, on a set of medium compound tyres, and we were seeing guys around the 108.3 mark in terms of a set of medium runs, in the 109.3, I should say, in terms of the set of mediums. It was a set of softs, 108.3 pole position last night, but Charlie now coming through the end of the first sector, through 3, through 4, and then in towards 5 and 6 as Key has already retired out on session. That's coming through turn 2, where he's retired the car. I'm not sure if there was a brake failure like with Honey Badger last night, but we'll have to wait and see, as now Charlie comes through towards the middle sector, through the chicane of 7, and then in towards the next chicane of turns 8 and 9. The curb's really adding a bit of realism, as Funky said, obviously, in the start of the stream. extreme. Charlie coming towards the end of the middle sector though, 41.4, exactly where you want to be I think in terms of a middle sector around here on this lap. Now into the hairpin of turn 10, and now through the little kink of 11, and then again through the little kink of turn 12 on the run down, of course, into the wall of Champion Chicane. Remember, in 1998, Hill, Schumacher and Villeneuve all came crashing pretty much into that wall on the right hand side. Hopefully Charlie doesn't do the same. Nicely negotiated coming through 13 and 14. That is a lap of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and Charlie to the line, 109.8 to start off the night.
A very strong lap there from Charlie, and he likes to do this in the qualifying sessions. He always goes out on the first medium run, but he's normally struggled to improve, so we're hoping he can change his look this time around by keeping his soft tyre runs within the track limits and, you know, picking up a good time to get himself probably onto the deserved pole positions, which he's not had this season.
Yeah, Atlas Coppo as well, just right on board with his lap. He invalidated coming through turn 13 on the right-hand apex through the chicane. So he is now down in 12th position, still not setting a valid lap. Joe Callboy is obviously invalid as well. Ray Meter, I think, had a mistake coming out the final corner, running to the line of 110.1 on a set of medium compound tyre. Now, I swear they were showing a Red Bull set of soft compound tyre for a minute there. This game really does like to trick me, unless it's just me need my eyes testing. Who knows? Charlie out on top, Ray Meter second, Noah in third. Interesting though, Noah 110.5 on a set of soft compound tyres, so it seems like he's struggling early on.
That's very surprising, I think, though, because he's normally not the fastest in qualifying, but he's normally around 4th to 5th, so that time's not very strong there from the Britishman, and he's got a lot of work to do as he's 7 tenths behind Charlie on the faster compound.
Yella has a moment coming out the final chicane as well, but a 108.7. Do you know what? Jonas set exactly the same lap time, 108.7, and that was his first lap in F2 last night. Yella's just completely matched that to an absolute T, 108.7, and he's more than a second clear of Charlie. I think, honestly, we might already have pole position sewn up.
Yeah, and this is what Nelly's done time and time again this season, is do an outstanding time as a banker, beating my personal best by a few attempts, and then just sitting in the pit lane for the rest of the session and still holding on to pole position.
I mean, it's not surprising though, but honestly, the cloud cover, if it's not going to rain in this session, which I don't think it is, we haven't had any reports that it is going to rain in this session, all of those guys on a set of medium compound tyres will end up trying to improve. So I think Yellow's got a point to prove, actually. 108.7, Leslie invalidated coming through the first couple of corners as well on his lap. He's actually backed off, I think, on this one. But Yellow out on top, Charlie second, Remeda in third. I think, honestly, the likes of Tunsuri, the likes of Charlie, all on a set of medium compound tyres, they've got something to aim at in terms of their lap time, and Yella doesn't want to be too easy on himself, really, in terms of trying to get a lap in. I mean, Tunsuri's already a second up on this improvement on his lap time, still on a set of mediums, but the transition, I think, from a set of mediums to a set of softs is something, what, like 8 tenths of a second? So I think Charlie and Ray Mead certainly have got something to aim at with Yella's time.
Yeah, Charlie's gone out already, so I think that's suggesting he's trying to squeeze Paul London to his qualifying session, as the track's short and there's enough time for it, so he's got to get a move on with it.
Yeah, Tunturi goes 6th there, 110.7, just finishing up on his lap. Leslie is back into the pit lane. Charlie, as you mentioned, I think is the furthest on to start up on a lap. Ivy Bryn Mike actually is one of the ones to start up on a lap. Hopefully there's going to be no commentator's curse from one commentator to another, but who knows? Ivy is on a lap, or Mike I should say, is on a lap coming through now turn 1 and 2, and he's went about as wide there as he would do at Austin, Texas. This is not the Circuit of the Americas, Mike, coming through 3 and then through turn 4, and maybe he's got the pressure on him now in terms of a lap time. 20.3 through the first sector, around a second off in terms of the lap time so far, but Mike obviously more consistent, I think, within the race, and hopefully this qualifying time might still be quite good to put it around Storm, Noah, Tunturi sort of area. Yellow out on top though, Charlie in second, Remeda in third. Charlie is started up on a lap as well. How's he looking?
He's a 10th up in the first sector, which is a bit surprising. Against medium times, you'd expect a bit more of a time game, but he's gone purple according to the game. He's nailed that chicane, he's going into the next chicane, he's hooked to the apex there beautifully, and he's managed to keep it within track limits. And how far up is he on his time coming into the second sector split? He's 4 tenths up, it's not going to be enough to beat Nelly at the moment. Brakes a bit late, hits the apex, holds it in second, short shifts into third, and now he goes down the back straight, enabling DRS in. It's going to be a strong time, but I think it's still going to be just a bit too far away from Nelly, unfortunately. But There's a lot of times again in this final chicane, this is where the lap is won or lost, and if he brakes quick, if he turns in and he's hit the apex beautifully, it has to back out the throttle there a bit, so it drops quite a bit of time, probably attempting that as he backs off, he's not happy with it.
Yeah, not happy with it at all, but he still goes second, apparently, with that lap time. Oh, he didn't improve, that's another wonder he's still second. 109.8 still for Charlie, but on that sort of soft compound tyres, wanting to try and keep that set a little bit fresher than probably some of the others out on track. Noah is on a lap now as well, coming through in towards turns 3, 4, and then through 5 and 6, and it looks like he's backed off as well.
Yeah, he just finished up his lap and went up into P4 with a 0.9, only a few hundredths shy of Charlie's medium time. As Max is saying, with an outstanding lap there, still half a second off Nelly, but he's 6 tenths clear of Charlie for P2 with an 09.2.
Yeah, NSR 1-2 as well, currently in qualifying, and actually put it on NSR 1-2-3 as Dundee now splits them. Terrible. Dundee splits them 109.1, but he is showing that pace what he showed last season. I think, of course, Dundee formerly, I think, of Formula 2, unless I am completely getting the wrong person here. He was an F2 driver last season, and Dundee is showing glimmers of that pace now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's raining.
Oh, wow. That's to be expected, to be honest, around this track, but I didn't expect it to come this soon.
So I wonder why, I wonder if that's why Yellow obviously went for that lap, and that's why we're seeing a majority of guys now going on that sort of soft compound of time. I mean, Atlas Copa was on the lap, I don't think he's improving. He might have just improved up to 5th position with a 109.6. Mike is there, 4 tenths up, coming through the second chicane, or the third chicane, out on track, up in towards the turn 10 hairpin. Joe Corboy has retired into the pit lane, so he obviously feels that he's not going to get a lap in, and Mike now coming through the hairpin is up on his time, but obviously, actually, I say that, and he's now just completely balled it into the wall, which is so unfortunate, because that is an ultimate commentator's curse right there.
He's had a fair few of them this season, so I don't think he's going to be too happy about that, as I think the track's now just too wet for these cars as people are retiring in the pits, and unfortunately, this is either going to play into Charlie's hands or not. He's P6 on the medium tyres, but he probably wants to be higher up, especially with his pace, and he seems to make a lot more mistakes in traffic, just getting a bit too... I can't think of the right word, like hot-headed, like going for moves that he shouldn't for, and then costing himself wing damage, and that's so if you can turn it around this race time from P6 as Lesty and Centauri are out on the track, which I doubt they'll be improving on their laps. Yeah,
I mean, looking at the track surface, it still looks like it is relatively dry in terms of the line, but obviously in terms of the lap times they're not going to be improving, and the rain is only going to fall more on the circuit, so that's why obviously now we begin to see it. The raindrops really affecting the track. It's going to be inters from here on in, I think, so that means pretty much session is over, and Yellow's probably got pole position, Dundee in second, Maxi same in third, Vermeida in fourth. I have asked, by the way, in the Discord, if anybody wants to reply to me, that would be fantastic, what the weather is actually like for the race, because I have a feeling it's going to be very similar conditions to what we're seeing in qualifying.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me, but the main surprise I think from this qualifying is Joe Corboy down in P13, the last position at the moment, and for P6 in the standings, if I'm not mistaken. P5, sorry, he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to maintain that position ahead of an eager Zam in behind, and Maxi, who's up there in P3.
Yeah, and speaking of Joe, actually, he has just responded to me. It is all dry in the race, which is unfortunate, but I think it's probably the best you want in terms of the action around here in Canada. But look at how wet now the track is. It has literally changed from 2 minutes ago being sunshine now to overcast conditions, I should say, and now to complete rain, and it's wet at the track, and the DRS will be disabled very soon indeed. I am absolutely sure of that. Tanturi is on a lap, very much struggling in terms of the overseer, but he is on that sort of soft compound tyre, 4.5 seconds down on his lap time, so, to me, don't even bother trying to get a little bit of wet running in, unless it's going to be wet in the race. Then I would go for a little bit of wet running, but if not, with DRS now disabled, Storm's going to come into the pit lane. Tanturi, I think, is going to do the same, and probably we can comfortably say session over.
Yeah, it's a bit of an anticlimactic end there. There's also another shock, which I've only just realised, is Storm. He's ahead of Corboy in the standings at the moment. He's 3 places above, which is going to help him as well for championship positions, but P10 on the grid for a driver who's probably top 3 on pace. It's poor qualifying there from Storm.
Yeah, definitely so, but Storm, I think, likes to try and get better as the race goes on. Obviously, it might have impacted if he's had no practice or not, but 2 seconds off yellow, on that set of medium compounded tires, if he got a soft run in, no doubt, I think he would be a mid 109, so I think Storm has still got some pace to find. If it's going to be all dry, he can certainly show that pace out in the race. Dundee, Tunturi, Lesty, Ivan Mike are still the guys out proverbially on track. They're still in the pit lane. Unless we are going to get running in the next 6 minutes or so, I don't think we will. And pretty much session is over with 5 minutes to go. You may as well just retire so we can get home early.
Got a nice blanket ready to snuggle under after this race, but just need to finish earlier. But you'd expect them to retire earlier on, but you never know. With some drivers, they might want to just get a little bit of feeling for the wet, because there's always that tiny chance of rain in the race, even if it is only that 2%, as Nelly's just said in the chat.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think, honestly, 2% chance of rain and sunny, also he remembers in terms of the weather information, and he's telling everyone to retire. I think it'll probably be the best thing to everyone to retire. Obviously, we don't want to be keeping our viewers waiting for 4 minutes and 20 seconds in terms of qualifying. Looking at the chat, actually, this is what we'll do for now, and have a look at the chat. Storm saying it's his least favourite track, so Storm there down in P10, least favourite track, he's behind Leslie, ahead of Ivor Bryn Mike in qualifying. And if it's his least favourite track, how do you think he's going to get on in the race?
I'm not too sure as well, because I think this is probably one of the best wheel tracks on this game, and if I'm not mistaken, Storm is on pad. So it's very difficult on pad as well to keep it within the track limits, as you just have like a limited turning angle. So you have to be extra cautious, even more than the wheel users. Like, they can push like no tomorrow and just about keep it within the limits. So he's got a lot of work to do, but I think if anyone can pull it off, it'll be Storm.
Yeah, definitely. So, Mr. Consistent himself, I think, in terms of the performances, whenever I commentate, it honestly seems like Storm is pretty much one of the most consistent drivers you could ever have on a grid, which I think is going to work in his favour. If it's going to be all dry, hopefully everyone has not had too many sherries from Christmas and they're hungover as a result, and hopefully the driving standards will be good. But Storm could have a little bit of trouble. He's starting, of course, in that sort of medium compound tyre, Leslie in front of him on that sort of softs, and then you've got Noah further up the field as well in the set of softs, and obviously the top 5. But how, obviously with the running, they've done laps on this set of compound of tyre, and there's only 3 drivers technically going to be on a free set of compound of tyre, basically, on a fresh set.
It's definitely going to mix everything up here, because they get the free choice, and if, like Cowboy and Kiki, they both crashed out, or Cowboy retired in the pits, but they both didn't set a time, and they're still within a chance of a good result here if they can play the strategy right. So it shows how much like poor attendance can help some drivers out. A bit like me last season in F1 at Abu Dhabi. Started P9 without setting a time and somehow ended up on the podium.
You never know. Dream of the impossible, I think, is what I will say to that. But fantastic, obviously, to get on the podium last season. Of course, I think I interviewed you back then for TTML F1. But we still have a little bit of a wait on. Mike, I'm not sure if I can say this, because we're not before 9... Well, it's not a swear word, is it? So he's smoking at the minute, and that's why he's not going to retire from the session. And now, as soon as I say that, he must have finished his smoke, and now he's retired from the session. So we're just waiting on IRL Dundee to retire, and I think he's just going to run out the time, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just replied to Mike's message saying he's also having a smoke at the same time, which it's very surprising.
Goodness me. Well, priorities are better than obviously trying to go out and set a wet time, I think. That is probably the best idea, and hopefully everyone is going to be enjoying the action. I've got to say, thank you to everyone that is tuning in so far. I think we reached 23 viewers there, if I'm not mistaken. Share the stream out to your family and friends who might be watching, of course, with them. If they're not, get them in. Simple as that. Like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you are new to League Racing TV. Of course, it is the most northern commentary box of the season so far in any TTML tier. Myself, of course, James Head, and Funky Chicken, taking you through the action of what will be 35 laps of the Canadian Grand Prix. I don't think, obviously, with how the weather is forecast, we're not going to get a 2011 sort of race, are we?
No, that's a bit unfortunate there, because it provides some great commentary and some great strategy calls, which are very unique sometimes in the dry. It's also a very unique track for strategy around here, because the 2-stop and the 1-stop are very similar in pace. So I think we're going to be seeing split strategies, especially with the likes of Charlie and Tunturi on the medium tyres. They could definitely be going for the 1-stop.
Yeah, definitely so, and obviously they've got to have to watch out for punctures as well towards the end of the race, as we had last night with David Charhoud on a set of soft compound tyres. But to run you through the grid, Jelle out on top, the Danish man, the Dutchman I should say, now the Dane of course for tonight paying tribute to Mads, out on top. Dundee in second, Maxi in third, Raymeter in fourth, Atlas Copo in fifth, Charlie in sixth, Noah in seventh, Tunturi ran off the top 8 with Leslie and Storm ran off the top 10. Ivan Mike the only other one to get a lap time in 11. Key and Joe Corboy, in fact, start obviously from the back of the grid. They didn't set a time at all. That might be the shot that we begin to see as we go into the lobby. Beautiful blue skies and sunshine. I think that's probably going to be replicated going into the race. But let's just talk about the tyre wear around here, because the tyre wear, I tend to think around 5% a lap on a set of soft compound tyres is absolutely blazing in terms of the blue sky. I nearly got caught completely off guard in terms of my brightness on my screen, goodness me. But in terms of the tyre wear, it's around 5% a lap for a set of soft compound tyres, so that's obviously going to harm people through the first part of the race.
And especially in these blazing conditions, as you said, the track's going to be really hot, so it's going to be a lot easier to overheat your tyres. So it will provide more grip at the start, but towards the end of the stints they'll definitely be struggling. And it also depends with tyre wears how cautious people are taking it, because I'd expect some drivers to go straight out the block, go in for the win, and probably picking up multiple penalties, whereas I'm expecting Nelly to keep it calm and reserved, save his ERS, and pick up minimal warnings, as he's done all season long.
Yeah, definitely. So it'll be really interesting, I think, to see how obviously the driving styles come into effect. And I think it's the driving style that you have to really take into effect in terms of how the drivers actually are. I mean, Dundee really following on the back of Jelle in terms of the formation app. And the formation app, of course, has now begun. 35 laps will await the guys out on track after this. Of course, let's have a look at the top 10. What tyres they're starting on. Of course, Charlie, Tunturi and Storm, the exception rather than the rule. On that set of medium compound tyre, everyone else in the top 10 on a set of softs, and Ivan Mike, Key and Corboy all on different tyres. Key and Corboy on a set of mediums, and Ivan Mike on a set of soft compound tyres. So in theory, the Welshman is probably going to be the quickest man out on track.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't surprise me. I think he's going to get multiple positions off the start. He's got a lot of experience in league racing. I think he's going to find ways and lines which are going to help him gain positions with staying out of trouble, which will definitely help him out, as he's pretty much done that all season long, apart from Russia, if I'm not mistaken. He's just kept it clean. And now to you, James. Who's your top 3 prediction for this race?
Oh, I'm going to take a while, I think, with this, because... Oh, as Jelle's gone for a spin at the hairpin! Goodness me! Jelle goes for a spin at the hairpin. Luckily, this is not the race, and luckily, that was not for position. But it just sort of overheated the tyres, I think, and just over-rotated the car, I think, there.
We've already seen one of the best drivers in this division struggling under these blazing conditions. It's very surprising there, but I'll tell you my top 3 just to give you a bit of like an insight on how it goes. So I think Nelly or Jelle will be P1. I think it's time for Charlie to finally pull up a good result. I think he'll get P2, and then, you know what, Ivan Mike for P3.
Not bad in terms of the top 3. I think on pace and on form, Jelle for the win. I think that pole lap, if he's 2 seconds clear at the end of lap 1, he's going to absolutely waltz away, I think, with this win. So Jelle out on top for me. I'm going to go Atlas Copo second. I think he's got a good chance. If he shows the pace like he showed last season, he should do well. And for third, I'm going to go for Noah J. I think he's going to have a good race from 7th on the grade. But we are about to get going. 35 laps of the Canadian Grand Prix about to begin. The 5 red lights are on, and for the first time in 2022 here in TTML F4, it is lights out and away we go, and Jelle gets a very good start. Dundee bogs down off the start, and now Maxi's same, and actually there's 3 wide in the background as the McLaren of Charlie tried to fit through the gap of Atlas Copo and Remader, but Jelle leads the way. Dundee in second, and Dundee has spun. Overheat to the rear tyres coming through turn 2. He didn't get caught on the curb, so he's gone for a spin. He nearly followed Jelle off in the formation lap as well, but Jelle leads the way. Maxi in second, Atlas Copo in third. Everyone clean through safely. Leslie, Twig, and Ivan Mike are going side by side, and there's contact between the 2 Williams as Ivan Mike now drops down the field. I think there was more contact involved in that as well, as Joe Corboy, I think, lost the position to Tunturi, but Leslie having to cut across the grass there. Is he waiting up for Mike, perhaps? Mike is going, and he hasn't got any front wing damage, which is good, and I think actually his teammate is not going to wait up for him, but Jelle leads the way. Maxi in second, and Atlas Copo in third. Bit of a chaotic first lap.
Wow, that was very clean through turn 1 and turn 2, but then going into turn 3, the two Williams going side by side was brilliant racing. It was a bit similar to Brendan Hartley a few years ago around here. Just a bit of contact there from Leslie the Twig and Mike, as now Leslie the Twig's getting another place, and Mike went spearing off and luckily managed to avoid the walls.
And Joel's running side by side as well with Tunsuri down into the wall of champion chicane. He's not going to risk this down the inside, is he? Joel down the inside line, Tunsuri on the outside line, and Joel just step back. They both get through that with hardly any contact, luckily. And Joel Callboy 30's into 8th position. Nobody wanted to give up the position there at all. And I think into the turn 13-14 chicane, you have to give up the position because you cannot fit two cars simply through the chicane without running a little bit over the curb. But Yellow leads the way. Maxi in second. Atlas Copel in third. Very good start by all. Charlie has gained a position up to 5th position. In terms of the positions gained, Joel Callboy 5 positions gained from 13th position. Most positions lost. Dundee, after that spin coming through turn 2, he's down in 12th. Ivy Bryn Mike, by the way, I think came in for a front wing change.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. I think he must have tagged the wall just a little bit there and just picked up enough damage to ruin his race there. So there's still a long way to go. Safety cars, VSCs, they could all play back into his favour here, so all he has to do is keep it clean, and I think the race will come to him.
Yeah, definitely so. I think Noah on the back of Atlas Copel as well, looking quite close. He looks quite pacey, I've got to say, Noah, compared to Atlas Copel. And not looking at the top 3 at all in terms of... Maxi just needs to go down a couple of positions and then it'll be perfect in terms of my top 3. Yellow are leading the way. There's further action further down the field. Leslie the Twig goes all the way around the outside of Tunsuri. I'm not sure if there was a back out there by the Finn, but Leslie the Twig is soon. He's into 9th position. From certainly what I saw, he just clean sailed him around the outside of the final corner.
That was a great move there from Leslie's Kiki. He's already picked up a 3-second time penalty just within 2 laps. So it shows how difficult it can be as Kiki's gone around. As soon as I've said that, I've commentated cursed him as he's spun it back round. He's managed to avoid all the walls and made sure no one else has got damage from it, which is good to see as Mike continues to back the field. As Kiki will now slot into P12.
Yeah, key down in P12, but that 3-second penalty might just come back to bite him later on in the race. Who knows what's going to happen, of course, as we go through the 35 laps here of the Canadian Grand Prix. Charlie on the back of Noah. Noah just seems to be struggling slightly in terms of straight line speed. He's losing the gap to Atlas Copel. Atlas hardly within DRS range, actually, but Charlie will be on the back of Noah. Noah is on the back of Atlas Copel in terms of the DRS. So now the rear wings fly open. I don't think Charlie is going to be close enough, certainly this time around, to try and get a move done, even maybe down in towards turn 1. But Yellow leading the way, Maxi in second, everyone clean through the chicane. A little bit of oversteer there actually from Charlie in 5th. Raymida there in Tunsuri again trying to catch back up to Leslie further down the field. But on settling down, I think Yellow has pretty much got the pace, but Maxi doing well, I think, to try and keep up with them.
Yeah, it's good to see how already Nelly's got 20% more ERS than Maxi, which is definitely going to help as it's not easy to save around this track. But Nelly's doing the usual thing he always does, just keeping it clean and saving his ERS, whereas the drives in behind and using all the ERS, try to keep it in the ERS range. And it's paying off there, as Ray Mead has also got like the second most in the field, which he definitely learned because he was one of the drivers last race who just used all of his ERS early on and ended up getting swallowed up and got caught in a mistake because he yelled flag in 6-2. I think it's Dundee who's gone around for the second time this race.
It is Dundee. Charlie's on the back of Atlas Copel, who's going to try and go all the way around the outside of the hairpin. Noah J, by the way, got through to 3rd, so he's through on Atlas Copel and into 3rd, and now the traction is really going to suit Charlie to an absolute T, but Atlas Copel was going to have the run, and we could get a 3-wide scenario down in towards the wall of champion Chicane, and even we're going to get it down the straight. Here comes Charlie trying to back out, but he's boxed in, and Atlas Copel goes past both of them down the inside line. Charlie got boxed in, and now Ray Meader, and the fact that Atlas Copel spun around, Noah I think went slow, and Atlas Copel went into the back of him, and Charlie now going side by side with Noah down in towards turn 1 with Ray Meader just in behind, and Charlie still side by side with Noah on the inside line, Charlie on the outside line, and I think the mediums are just going to have them right away the corner, but Noah stays ahead. Noah's still in 3rd, Ray Meader in 4th, Atlas Copel all the way down in 10th as a result of that spin.
Well, that was some incredible racing there, nice and clean there between the 4 drivers there, and it's unfortunate to see that from Atlas Copel just having a bit of oversteer mid-corner, trying to overcorrected it and ended up spinning around hitting the wall. So that's unfortunately damage there for the Norwegian. He's got a lot of work to do, same with Mike and Keegan to get themselves back up in the single point finishing positions.
Yeah, Storm as well on the back of Joe, and Joe actually makes a mistake, and now Storm, normally cautious Storm, is he going to go for the move around the outside into the hairpin? This is what we tried to see with Charlie last time around, and now Storm is going to try and repeat the favour. Look at the switchback, he's going to get off the corner, and now Joe is going to be wary because he's going to be on the inside line, I think, here, down into the wall of Champion Chicane, and this should be quite simple as Kia spun coming through the third chicane out on track on the other side of the track, and Storm is now through on Joe, so he's through and he's into sixth. Leslie is going to get the move done as well. He tried to switch ways actually, Leslie, to try and get past Tunturi. There was a little bit of hard defence there, and Charlie now on the outside line of Noah. Noah still on the inside line. There's so much action, we need to take Kravitz, I think, at this stage. Yellow leads the way, Maxi in second, Charlie now through into third. Lovely move that on Noah.
This is brilliant racing once again there from Charlie and Noah, but they're just dropping loads of time here. They've both used all their ERS, they would P-rate down the straight, and Ray Meader is sitting pretty in behind with 90% ERS compared to them. So Ray Meader's just taking his time, which is the smartest thing to do in this situation when he's at the back of the train.
Yeah, definitely so. Leslie's on the back as well of Tunsuri. Is he going to try and get the move done down in towards the 8 and 9 chicane? I don't think he will. Remeda, though, had a really good run on the back of Noah down into the hairpin. Charlie beginning to pull away. I think we're beginning to see the first signs of the set of soft compound tyres beginning to go. It's normally at this point of the race as Leslie is right alongside Tunsuri on the other side of the track now into the hairpin. And he's going to try and waltz this all the way around the outside, but with the switchback, he is going to try and get a very good run. And Tunsuri, I think, will have to watch out for his rear wing, and actually watching out for his rear wing as well. Charlie getting closed down quite quickly by Noah. Leslie, though, is finally going to get the move done, though. He tried it last time around, didn't get the move done, and he's through and he's into 8th position. Nice move, that.
Yeah, there's now Yellow once again, it's just extending the lead by a few tenths per lap. It's got double the ERS pretty much of Max Same in behind. It just depends on all the warnings. Its penalties are going to win. Penalties are going to be the main feature to win this race here, so if Nelly can keep it clean, he has a bit of a wiggle there through the chicane, but he's kept it clean. He's only lost a little bit of time there to Maxine behind, so if he keep going, Dundee's picked up the second penalty of the night with a 3-second fly penalty for track limits.
Yeah, and sits fastest lap of the race as well, which is quite strange because that should be an invalid lap really. But Dundee got the move done on Mike just before the chicane, the Wall of Champion chicane. He's through and he's into 10th position, so making up ground quite nicely. Joe as well on the back of Storm. The Irishman and the Brits are going to come to blows, I think, here. The McLaren and the Red Bull. So McLaren just touches the grass slightly. It just overcorrects the run now for Joe to try and get the run down in towards turn 12 through the little kink of 12 and now in towards 13 and 14. And this will be the easiest move you might see all night as Ray Meader is going side by side just ahead as well as Noah dives into the pit lane with Yella also in, and Noah with a 5-second penalty for spinning into the pit lane.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate to see then. They're definitely not going for the one stops. You need to extend by till lap 11 or 12 for it. I think the mediums there are definitely the quickest there, as we've seen Joe Corboy and Charlie excelling his conditions, as Charlie's closed in 6 tenths over the past 2 laps to Charlie Ped. As yellow flag, and that's an Alfa Romeo, I got mixed up there as Tiki, who's spun around the second set for the 3rd time tonight already.
And a 4th time now as he does a full 360 Charles Leclerc style in Hockenheim. Well, it was 180, but still, same thing. Key, 13th position now, right down the back of the field, getting out of the way of drivers, which is really good to see. But there's still point scoring positions, of course, for the 13 drivers. Look at this, though, in behind. Leslie is literally like a rolling roadblock, and now Tunturi and Yellow are going to go side by side. It's 3 wide almost, down in towards the chicane. It is 3 wide into turn 8 and 9. Leslie backs out and has to come across the grass, and Yellow got around the outside of both of them, and he's through. He's into 6th as Leslie now has to cut across the chicane and he's down in 7th position. That was very, very sketchy though, and I think that was all caused by Tunturi trying to go up the middle of them. A little bit of contact between him and Leslie has got front wing damage as a result on the right side.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate to see that, as we just see Kiki spinning constantly across the track here. As I think he's just doing donuts at this point, but I'm not sure. But it's very strange racing there between Tunturi, Yelly and Leslie there, because Leslie has paid the biggest price out of that, getting wing damage through no fault of his own.
Charlie, by the way, is getting another 6/10 of a second on the lead of Maxi. Maxi 1.3 seconds ahead of Charlie at this stage. Ray Meader, though, I'm looking as Charlie just picks up a 3-second penalty for cutting the inside curb. Unfortunately, he will not get that one removed because I caught on stream, and definitely that was his own doing by running 2 wheels over the curb to try and pick up that 3-second penalty, which he did. Maxi, though, leading the way. Charlie in 2nd. Ray Meader, though, in 3rd. If I was Ray Meader, I'd pit now because obviously Yellow has been caught up in a little bit of of scrimmaging with Tunsuri and Lesty. He got involved in that hardly, but I would try and come in and obviously pit in for that sort of medium compounded tyres, because there's no guarantee you go later on the race and then you go for another set of soft compounded tyres and there's no guarantee they're going to get to the end.
If I was in Ray Meader's position at the moment now, with it just going on to lap 10, I would stay out for another lap or two and then just go onto the medium tyres and go to the end there, because he's gained a massive advantage to Nelly and Noah, sorry, in behind. So it's going to be difficult for him to pull off, but I think he's been managing his tyres well, as he was just sitting in behind the train, not making any rash moves and just preserving the rear tyres, which definitely die off around this track.
Yeah, the thing is though as well, Joe Colboy's in behind. There's only what 3 DRS straights, I should say, on this track. The corners actually outweigh the DRS straights. So Joe, as he gets caught on the curb and picks up a 3-second penalty himself, he was catching just on Ray Meader on the first part of the lap, but now with that little mistake, he's now 4.5 seconds behind, and Charlie's all over the back of Maxi for the race lead. It looks like the L plan is going to get done by the papaya-coloured car here.
As we're going to go on board here with Charlie's, he sets up the exit well. He activates his DRS and now he's going to be waiting to enable the DRS down the main straight, back straight, sorry. As he's already pulled on tight, it's going to be a simple move there for Charlie. He's stopped using DRS, which he needs to start managing now, as Matt's saying, he's going to slot him behind P2. Good move for Charlie, neither Ray Meader or Maxi pits, so they're definitely going for the one stop, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So Noah in behind as well, trying to get Tunturi down the straight, coming through the kink of 12, now in towards 13. Another easy move there. Noah is through, and he's into 7th position. He's got 5 seconds to try and get on the back of Yella. 5 seconds, though, is a long, long way to try and gain in terms of the lap time around here. And actually, Noah, because of the DRS detection points around here, pulls away from Tunturi. So Noah, 5 seconds off Yella. Yella's in a bit of no man's land as well, but what has Noah got to do to try and basically outperform Yella at this stage in the race?
He's just got to try and push everything on his own and just hope to get the better strategy call than Yella by probably going for an early undercut either on the mediums. He's picked up another 3-second time penalty there. As we've already got half the field with over 3-second time penalties and we're not even a third of the way through the race.
And it is turn 6 that is catching everyone out as well. Every time I seem to go on board with a driver, they get a 3-second penalty. I'm honestly an absolute curse. Conti, you can have this seat back next week. Charlie leading the way, Maxi in 2nd, Ray Meader in 3rd. Whether or not the set of soft runners are going to come in remains to be seen as Ray's got into the back of Maxi. And Maxi is pretty much out of the race. He's going to cut into the pit lane, and I don't blame him for doing that at all. Ray Meader's doing exactly the same. And that is what happens when you go into the pit lane in Canada and you don't realise that the guy in front of you is saying that, and that was just an absolute carbon copy of what happened 2 seasons back, I think, around here in TTML as well. Ray into the back of Maxi, and has pretty much taken them both out of contention.
Wow, that was very surprising to see. That it was very sudden. They're still not out of this race yet, as the cars ahead of them still need to pit, but they've just lost a lot of time there, so this one stop's not a bit as effective as it would have been, as Centauri Scrumboard would just cut turn 4 completely. So he's lucky there to not get a penalty, but he should have got a warning at least.
Yeah, should have got a warning, but he's still on that settle of 11 lap old medium compound tyres. I've been Mike, by the way. He's been out there, obviously, since his spin coming through, I think it was on lap 1, obviously. He put it in lap 1, and now 1.5 seconds off the back of Ray Meader with slightly warmer tyres as well. I think the Welshman will now be inspired in terms of, obviously, Ray and Maxi coming together. He'll be thinking more of the same, please, to try and get back into the race, as Yella now breezes past Storm down and towards the wall of Champion Chicane. And that is lovely, as Yella actually picks up a 3-second penalty for cutting the inside curb at 13. But he is through and he's into 3rd nonetheless.
It's very surprising I'd see from Nelly, as it just looked like he were cruising out front, but he's already picked up 3 warnings, which is very unlike Nelly there, but it's definitely clear of the field at the moment, so he's just got to keep up the work what he's doing there, as he's closing in already on Joe Corby ahead of him. He just needs to make sure he doesn't drop too far behind Charlie, as he could also be going for the one stop.
Yeah, definitely so. Looking at the penalties as well, remember Noah's got that 8 seconds worth of penalties with that 5-second penalty for being picked up in the pit lane for speeding. Everyone else, Charlie, Joe Cowboy, Yella, Storm, Ivor Bryn Mike, Lesty and Dundee have all got 3 seconds worth of penalties so far out on track. Not many drivers in F2, I've got to say, last night picked up any sort of penalties at all. So I'm really shocked that obviously it's F4 and it's a lower caliber of driver, you could say. But I'm really shocked that drivers are picking up penalties, and they're picking them up at really, really basic points of the circuit where you don't really cut.
Yeah, it's just simple mistakes like at turn 6, just turning in a little bit too early and then having to go all over the curb, and it just unsettles the car, picks up a warning. And another issue I've just spotted, Tuntera is already low on fuel, and fuel burns fast around this track, so he's going to be depending on a safety car, and he's gone into the pit lane now.
I don't blame him for going into the pit lane, to be honest. He has to go. You would imagine set of maybe... Oh, he's going for a set of soft compounder tyre. Interesting from Tunturi. I thought he was going to go for a set of hards, but they would have got towards the end as Ivor Mike has retired into the pit lane, I think that is. No, it's a safety car. He's crashed through the final corner on the curb. He's obviously outspun coming through the wall of Champion Chicane, and now it's a full safety car, and Tunturi has been played an absolute blinder there.
Yes, I think Tunturi as well is going to be probably going for 2 soft stints there, because 20 laps, 10 laps on each set. Especially when the fuel burns off, the tyre wears a lot less, and it's a lot easier to manage, but it's a bit of a shame to see there from Mike, because I know it's an easy mistake to make around this track, this game, but for someone as experienced as him, you wouldn't really expect them kind of mistakes.
You wouldn't, to be honest, but obviously, I hate to say it, it's Mike, but no, he's P12 down, obviously DNFing out of the race. Key retired into the pit lane. I thought there was a retirement because the car was still moving coming out of the chicane, so I thought it was still a whatchamacallit. I've totally forgot my thinking there, to be honest. But Mike is out of the race. It is a full safety car. Yella out on top. Charlie, though, interestingly, gone for a set of hard compounder tyres. Joe Cowboy, though, the Irishman, on for a set of soft compounder tyres. I think he's following the same strategy as Tunturi.
Yeah, if I was in Charlie's position, I wouldn't have gone the hard tyres. They're not very strong around this track. He's got to keep up with Nelly now for the next 20 laps, and Nelly still has to make a pit stop, so he's got a pit stop advantage over Nelly, but I think the fresh soft tyres when Nelly pits would just be too much for him to handle. That's why I think Joe Cowboy has done the right thing, is he's going to pit the same time as Nelly and just hopefully match his pace and just keep the penalties down.
Yeah, definitely so, and obviously Joe is probably going to have the pace compared to the front two as well, so watch out for the Irishman. F2 driver, of course, back in the past in TTML F2, and he'll be hoping to try and outdo a few of the newbies, we can call them, of course, Yella and Charlie within the league. Storm has picked up a 3-second penalty underneath the safety car for corner cutting through the third chicane through turns 8 and 9, which I don't think I've really seen around here that often.
It's a very silly mistake that has gone on with Storm. He's also on the hard tyres. Both McLarens go until the end here, which makes me think they'll be in a party together as they're going to be discussing strategies. As Noah J and P7, he's also gone to the hard tyres, but he started on the soft tyres, so if he pit and went onto the medium tyres, he would have been able to get to the end from here, so that's a bit of a strange strategy call there from Noah.
I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if one of the McLarens decided to come into the pit lane. Exactly what I was thinking. Storm is into the pit lane, and he's going to do the alternate strategy, basically. So he's now going to hop onto a set of mediums to the end of the race, 20 laps. This is exactly what I thought might happen with the 2 Red Bulls. And also Tunturi is going to do exactly the same thing as well. So he's onto a set of mediums. Will Dundee do the same? No. Atlas, Copo, and Lesty, I think, are on a set of mediums, so they should be fine later on in this race. But Storm into the pit lane. He's going to rejoin in P8, but he hasn't lost that much ground at all.
I think Storm and, to be honest, Maxi and Remeda are probably in the best positions here, because them hards for them Charlie is going to struggle to heat up, he's going to struggle to maintain the temperature. Both Yelly and Corby ahead of him need to pit, so they're technically in a net 1-2 if they can pass Charlie, if Charlie's pace on them hards isn't good enough.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think, honestly, Joe... I think Joel's missed a little bit of a point there. He obviously would have lost more positions than what he actually would have gained underneath the restart. So I think he's prioritising track position over anything, and possibility of another safety car as well. And remember, this track does have a very high rate of where the safety car is going to be. I don't think we're going to get it in this lap. Leslie hasn't quite joined onto the back just yet, so I think the safety car might set in the lap unless it comes in around about now, which exactly it has, coming off the exit of the hairpin, and now Yeller is going to be the virtual safety car. He's going to be the virtual Bert Marlander, and he is now the virtual safety car and controlling, I've got to say, what is a very high tempo pace.
Yeah, this is what I like to see on the restarts. I get the slowing down, waiting until the last second, normally works best, but it causes a lot of carnage in behind for the drivers behind, like just tapping each other a little bit, picking up 5-second penalties, and it just can ruin the outcome of races. So it's good to see from Nelly's. He's maintained the pace as well. He's not going, stopping, going, and stopping.
Yeah, it's really good to see, and obviously the drivers are going to have to try and keep to that consistent pace, and Yeller is going to wait until the exit of the final corner, and now he says go, and Charlie is now left behind as Joe will try and chase him down in towards turn 1 with a back underway, nearly halfway through here in Canada. Yeller leads the way down in towards turn 1, Noah side by side with Ray Meeder, down the inside line goes the Ferrari on the Aston Martin, didn't quite pull off the move, but now through the switchback of 2, can he get the move done? No, Ray Meeder on that sort of medium compound tyres, slightly fresher, but a very good restart by Ulrich Meeder there in 5th, and actually as soon as I say that, Leslie the Twig has ended up out of the race, and it might be another safety car. I don't think it will be though, but he's out of the race, and that is the 3rd retirement of tonight. Yeller out on top, Charlie in 2nd, Cowboy in 3rd. Relatively good restart apart from what happened with Leslie.
Yeah, it's very clean. It's very good to see there, as his car's still not been cleared, so there's definitely the potential of a safety car to come up. And I've just checked as well with this thing, the race director. Maxi and Remeda are already on 2 warnings each as well, so they're looking the cleanest at the moment, but there's still a long way to go without picking up a warning.
Joel's right on the back of Charlie, going down the 8th line of turn 12, and now in towards the World Champion chicane. It's already job done. The Irishman is through, and he's into 2nd, and now, with that sort of soft compound tyre on, how much quicker is he going to be than Yellow? He's already gained nearly 3/10 through the final chicane, and already the set of softs coming into play. If Charlie follows Callboy, though, Charlie's got a really good chance of winning this race, and it might actually be the case where your prediction might come off as Dundee dives it down the inside out of Noah in towards turn 1. That was an absolute Daniel Ricciardo-esque move from the AlphaTauri. He is through and he's into 6th position. That was a lovely move.
Storm, though, is getting a bit interested there at Noah James. He's definitely struggling in them hard tyres. He's already fallen back from Dundee 6 attempts within 2 corners. As Storm is right on the gearbox here through the chicane. He gets better traction.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, he's already alongside. Should be a simple move, and that's brilliant driving there from Storm.
Oh, and Noah tried to keep the nose in, though, on the outside line. Storm is through, though, and he's into 7th. And Tunturi now can try and follow suit as well to try and come on the back of the NSR man on the run up the hill and towards turn 10. Not quite close enough. Joel, though, is on the back of Yellow, and Yellow's trying to break the toe desperately. However, you might try. I think Joe was going to wait until turn 1. If not, wait until the DRS is deployed next lap around the back, straight in towards 8 and 9, which could be the place to try and overtake, as Yellow will lead down in towards turn 1, and he will keep that lead because Joe is not going to try and attack him.
Yes, I think Cowboy's just going to try and manage his tyres for a little bit in behind Yellow, and that's definitely smart thing to do. He's going to go for the switchback here. No, he doesn't get a good enough traction there, but Charlie's pace is extraordinary here. We see Noah plummet down the field, and Charlie's holding his own versus a soft one and a medium one, and has already almost had the second window there for Max to save him.
Yeah, Maxi's doing a good job, I've got to say. He's now catching up, obviously, with the corners now into effect. Cowboy getting a little bit of oversteer coming out of 8 and 9, and he's not going to be close enough in towards this chicane, but maybe into the hairpin he might. Yellow, though, so much better on the exit. He seems to put more power on the exit of the corner compared to Cowboy, and that's why Cowboy might be lacking. On that sort of soft compound tyre, you're not going to get the traction on the exit of the corner, which you would imagine he would, but he's on 4-lap old softs, and probably they're around the same level as what Matty Same and Ray Meader's tyres are, as now Cowboy on the outside line is going to take the race lead like taking candy from a baby. Cowboy as soon he's into the race lead.
Great move there from Joe, and he's just got to try pull away as much as he can, as Nelly and him both need to fit it, so they should work together instead of fighting as hard, because that's just playing into Charlie's hands as Nelly sends it up had a look at the inside there, but backed out at the last second there. Had me fooled with the camera angle I had, unfortunately.
Run bold with that on my end, certainly, and Yeller just looked like he was going to go down the inside line. The offer was there, but I think Yeller, known by the driver he actually is, very, very clean and didn't want to try and get any sort of involved. But he realises Callboy's tyres are going to fall off the pace. If there's no safety car within the next 5 laps, I think Callboy's going to be in trouble. He's going to be right down the back of the field. And now it'll be all of the guys in a set of mediums plus the guys in a set of hards that are going to be ending up the race, and Callboy is going to be down in P10 and probably running for fastest lap.
And crucially here, Charlie I think has just fallen outside the DRS window of Yeller, so he's just going to fall back into the clutches there for Max 7 and
It's fine.
Behind.
DRS detection point I think was just on the exit of the hairpin. Oh no, actually no, you're right, yeah, he hasn't got any DRS. And running down the straight, Yeller is closing in. Look at the speed of Yeller down the inside line into the wall of Champion Chicane. Goodness me, it's literally like he got shot out of a cannon. He is through and he's into the race lead. Wow, oh wow, that was pace and a half if I've ever seen it. Yeller through into the lead of the race. Goodness me, it looks like he had a jetpack up his rear wing.
And yes, that was insane straight line speed there from Yeller behind Joe Callboy. Max is same now, crucially right onto the gearbox there. Charlie's, he's just closed in around 7 attempts in the past 2 laps. So them hard tyres are definitely seen the poorer side of them now that Max Sam's got his mediums fired up as he's closed without attempts within the dirty, has gained around a 10th, and he's just dropped on the exit point, which is a bit of understeer. But now Charlie's managed to find a way back into the DRS at the cars ahead of Max Sam's, going to make him a 10 time time for Ray Meader, gets the final one, he gets his first 3 second time penalty.
Yeah, so unfortunate. Maxi and Tunsu are the only 2 that haven't got a 3-second penalty so far in this race. It just seemed to me Joe Callboy was just struggling that set of softs through the middle sector. He was just struggling slightly, and Yeller is going to have the run on him. Down into the wall of Champion Chicane, he's going to remain in the race lead. And you can just see Joe trying to use up as less ERS as possible to go into the wall of Champion Chicane. And actually, he's just going to sit him behind, I think. And it's going to give Charlie a little bit of a free run. There in third, he has got DRS in the back of Callboy, but Maxi in fourth also has DRS, and really it's a 6-7 car train, it's a 6-car train for the race lead.
This is brilliant to see, nice close racing for them, which we haven't really seen this season. The most we've ever seen was 3 cars around Imola.
Charlie's going to have the run on Callboy. Callboy made a mistake coming out of turn 3 and 4, and he's out of slipstream and DRS range to Yeller. And Yeller leads the way, and Callboy, I did say he was struggling through into the middle sector, and now on that set of soft compound tyres, he's out of DRS range, and that is going to come back to bite him, absolutely rightly so, as Dundee picks up another 3-second penalty on the back of Ray Meader, and he's not close enough into the hairpin, as actually the cloud cover begins to build over the circuit.
Potential of rain for the last few laps, but I doubt it just with the little percentage we had, but we can always hope.
We can always hope. I mean, I've seen Canada before transition from sunny conditions as we are now to rain in 2 laps. So anything is possible around here at Canada. Dundee on the back of Ray Meader, Matty Same on the back of Charlie. Charlie's hard tyres are not good enough, and now Matty sends it down the inside line in towards turn 1, and that picks up a 3-second. That picks him up a 3-second penalty. He's now down there in P4. Dundee dropped off the back of Ray Meader as well. And I'm not sure if he got a really poor run out of the wall of Champion Chicane, but looking at the overcast conditions beginning to increase over the circuit, it's certainly now bringing into play, you would imagine, the set of mediums and the set of hard compound tyres compared to Callboy and that set of softs.
Yeah, I've just been on board with the bottom 3 of our current runners of Noah. Noah's struggles are just continuing it. He got overtaken by Tinturi just down the DRS straight. Then Atlas Carpo is probably move of the race so far. Late on the brakes up the inside and then managed to hold it around the outside of turn 2 and got the better traction than Noah on the hard tyres.
And he could get the move done as well on Tunsuri, running down into the wall of Champion Chicane. So it's going to be really interesting to see if he can. But look at the oversteer now beginning to be picked up, coming through the hairpin. It's a result of these changing conditions. And look up now what Callboy is trying to do. Callboy, I think, realises there might be just that threat of rain. They said it's going to stay dry with 12 laps to go. I don't know.
I hope it does rain, because that's just going to change everyone's strategies there, and it's just going to be crazy, and we're just going to see maybe a new winner this season.
Alice trying to send it down the inside on a Tunturi, just cut it off that for a second, didn't manage to get the move done. He looked 3/4 committed for the move, but didn't want to actually go for the move. It's pretty much a half-hearted attempt, but he didn't want to try and go for the move. It's actually Callboy now in the back of Yella is going to try and go for the move, but look at the conditions now. Out on track is very, very cloudy as Callboy nearly goes for a spin.
Yeah, it was very close. Like them soft tyres aren't working like they were a few laps ago, and that's unfortunate to see. As he's going to keep falling away from Yella if he falls out the DRS once again. He's not going to have the luxury of being able to push and get back within the 1 second window without spinning.
Is Callboy going to go for the move? I think if it's going to rain, I would go for the move now rather than anything else. And he cuts to the outside line, going to try and waltz it all the way around the outside of the wall of Champion Chicane, but he doesn't. And now Charlie will try and have the run off, and Callboy nearly into the wall. Really good recovery by Callboy, and that is recovery of the season perhaps, as now Maxi pulls alongside him, and Callboy is going to be threatened by 1, maybe 2 positions as Maxi tries to go all the way around the outside. He will have the traction, but it will not get the move done, and Yellow leads the way. Charlie now in second, but those softs now surely are done.
Yeah, them softs have gone off the cliff now as Max is closing right in on the rear end. As he's going to back out of the move there, because it would be a bit silly to go for a late move. He's going to set it up for the DRS straight. Can he get the better exit? I think he has. That's Callboy's having a little bit of a wiggle then. The rear tyres on them softs have gone. He's struggling for traction. Is Maxi going to go for it down the inside as a late braking manoeuvre? Callboy cuts across. That was very close there between them.
He's going to be outdone as well by Ray Meader. Look at Ray Meader now pulling alongside in the Aston Martin. He's going to waltz past him here. Down on the outside line, Maxi's very late on the brakes though. And luckily for him, he's just about kept that position. But then again, Ray Meader just absolutely waltzes past him with the traction on the car. And now the McLaren of Charlie is going to try and go all the way around the outside of Yella. Down into the wall of Champion Chicane they go. And he goes all the way around the outside. Yella has to back out. He picks up a 3-second penalty. And now Callboy's back in play. And Callboy has to try and rectify that as well. But now Charlie, right in the slipstream of Yella. Is he going to get the move done? No. Yella leads the way. Charlie in second. And Maxi dives it down the inside line. It spun Ray Meader. And it nearly sent Dundee round as well.
Yeah, that was too late there from Max. He tried to go up the inside there of Dundee and went way too late, took out Ray Meader. It's unfortunate to see his Atlas Carpo. He passed Venturi a few laps ago. Fell into P7 out of nowhere, but Dundee has managed his ERS on this restart and has more ERS than everyone in the field at the moment ahead of him. And he was going to probably go for the double overtake on Ray Meader and Max said, which he almost pulled off, and then unfortunately the dive bomb happened with Max, which took out Ray Meader.
Well, he has got 9 seconds worth of penalties, remember, Dundee, so really he has got technically something to fight for. What would you do, though? Would you try and hold back off Callboy in terms of his battle with the likes of Charlie and Yellow ahead? Or would you try and go for as many positions as possible? I think in Dundee's case, you try and go for as many positions as possible. And speaking of positions, Charlie is going to get the move done on Yellow, down the outside line, and same with Dundee as well. He's going to get the move done on Joe Callboy, and he is now through and he's into P3. So changes of position, Charlie up to the lead, and Dundee now into P3. Is Atlas Copo side by side with Maxi, Ramita side by side with Tunsiri. They gain positions as well, as Maxi's going to be again trying to go side by side down towards someone, but Atlas Copo just pulls away effortlessly.
Yeah, I'm seeing Nelly once again cutting across the final chicane. He's on 6 seconds penalties. He needs to be careful. What's happening down the back of the field?
There's a bit of wheel banging going on right at the back of the field. Tunsiri and Noah are going side by side, and Noah is going to have the traction and has nearly contact again. And Tunsiri just tried to keep his nose in there. He should have backed off. He should know better than that. Noah through into P9, and I think honestly he was probably entitled to that position because Noah had the right away of the corner and he had the better tyres.
It's getting even darker around this circuit here. I'd be expecting rain in a few minutes' time, if I'm honest, but I think the top two now need to be careful with penalties because they are playing Dundee right back into this with fighting and picking up more warnings every single lap.
Well, Callboy is technically going to win this race, as it stands, because I'm looking at the penalties. They both got 6 seconds in front. Callboy's got 3. Callboy's within a 3-second range of Charlie and Yella, and he can just stay there in that DRS train as Charlie now picks up another penalty, and the sun begins to come out again. As look at Yellow, look at the pace again of Yellow down the inside line into turn 1. Job done. Charlie now back to second. He could be back to third as well, because Dundee, run on the back of him, is going to try and get the move done. Yellow leading the way, Charlie in second, Dundee in third. There's the penalties, by the way, on the left-hand side, as Maxi Same and Atlas Copo are going side by side as well, and Maxi is going to get and outwit the Norwegian, so Maxi is third and he's into 6th.
Yeah, and at how long Corboy's gone these softs, I think he's going to try and make it to the end. The softs can definitely do 15 laps, and on lower fuel they can definitely push to 19, which I think he's aiming for. He just has to keep it clinical here, and he could definitely be on for the win if he keeps out of the wall.
I think he will, to be honest. He did a double shift actually through the chicane there, and he is losing time, but now Cowboy has to realise that these three are going to battle in front, and I think that's going to be the biggest advantage of them all for the Irishman. As actually I say that, he's nearly gone for a spin. The Storm is through and he's into P4. Charlie now is side by side once again with Yellow on the run down in towards the chicane, and Charlie I don't think is going to go for the move. There was no intention there from the Brit to try and get the move done, as Yellow picks up another penalty, and all Cowboy's going to do, keep it within 6 seconds now, and you've won the race.
You were talking about how Dundee had 9 seconds of penalties, and the two cars in front of him now both have 9 seconds of penalties. One of the cleanest drivers this season has definitely struggled to keep within the limits of Yellow up front.
Canada does really like to punish those who are very clean in terms of the driving, i.e. me, when I'm sometimes driving around here. Yellow out on top, Charlie in second, Dundee in third. 7 laps to go. Really hope you are enjoying this race, by the way. If you are not, if you are, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you are new. If you're not, then dislike. We won't see them, or certainly I can't see them, because I can't see the amount of dislikes that is on YouTube now all of a sudden. Charlie, though, on the back of Yellow, down into the hairpin again, not close enough. I think Charlie, though, realises he's got the pace on that sort of hard compound of tyres. What does he do now? Does he back up Dundee into Storm to let Storm through into Dundee, and then a McLaren 1-2 perhaps could be on the cards? Or does Charlie think about his own race?
I think Charlie's going to think about his own race here. There's still the potential for the win on the cards, because it only takes a few mistakes here. Dundee's going to the wall. At the Wall of Champions, that's probably the first victim this race of hitting the wall, but it's got away with it. We've done probably minor wing damage at worst.
Oh, Charlie's trying to go all the way around the outside of the wall, now on the inside of the line of 2. Lovely move by Charlie. Outwits the outwits Yellow, the Dutchman. Into second position he goes, and Charlie soon is into the lead of the race. And do you know what? Hards are better than mediums now.
Yeah, and that's obviously, because remember, Yellow's been on them tyres since lap 7. She's done 23 laps, if I'm not mistaken. 22 laps, sorry. It'll be 23 at the end of this lap. And Corboy as well, once again, he's struggling on them softs. He's lost around a second to Storm up in front, so I think he's going to be out of contention for the win here. But I think Storm just has to keep it clean, and this win is his, but he's struggled to do that towards the end of the races. I remember Portimao, I think he crashed on the final corner. As he's had a little wiggle there, just kept on track, so very well held there. He's got to just keep within the limits now.
Yeah, he actually got more traction, I think, off the corner by doing that as well. And he's pulled away still a second to Corboy. He's within the DRS range on Dundee as well. Dundee, though, on the back of Yellow. Is he going to try and go for the move, perhaps? Somebody that is, though. Ray Meter on Maxi Same. He's through and he's into 6th. So Ray's through on Maxi, and he's through and he's into 6th. Yellow on the back of Charlie again. Not close enough down in towards turn 1. But with 5 laps to go, we are reaching now the crescendo here in Canada. Charlie leading the way. Yellow in second. Dundee in third. And with the amount of penalties that's on offer, who's going to win this race? We do not know.
It's all over the place this moment. The penalties have been picked up left, right and centre here from the top spree. So anything can happen in these final few laps, and could maybe even see Charlie pick up another penalty and he would drop down to probably P5 or P6.
Possibly so. Corboy is out of 3 second range, I think. The gap to the lead is 3.7, so Corboy now is only going to lose the time, I think, compared to the top 4 ahead. So he's then again, I say he's out of it. You never know what could happen in the final few laps of this race. But Charlie, you mentioned he would have a good race tonight. He's now 1.1 seconds clear of Yellow, and the hards certainly coming better than a set of mediums. Dundee is going to try and go for the move on the back of Yellow into the Wall of Champions, but I think he is going to go possibly down in towards turn 1 on him. But then again, Charlie, through the final corner, is threatened once again by Yellow, and look at the closing speed of Yellow once again. He's not going to go down the inside here. Charlie still leads the way, but Charlie's final chicane, he seems to lose a good 4-5 tenths through there.
Yeah, there's another person who's going to throw their hat in the mix for the win here. It's Ray Meader. He's gained about 3 seconds on Cowboy in the last 3 laps alone, so he's around a second a lap faster. Just through his first sector he's gained 4 tenths, and he's only got 3 seconds worth of penalties as well, so if he can overtake Cowboy and just try to close within the range of Storm here, he could definitely be putting himself up forward there for the win.
Yeah, definitely so, and actually I've just clicked on because Charlie, Yellow and Dundee have got 9 seconds. Cowboy's technically got another 5 seconds gap to play with, to be honest, for the Irishman. He's doing a good job, but can those tyres last to the end of the race? We will have to wait and find out in the next 3.5 laps or so. Charlie leading the way, Yellow in second, Dundee in third. I think Yellow has saved something back. He hasn't saved up in terms of ERS, but I just think in terms of his pace, he saved something back for the end of this race, and I think it's probably going to all be let loose in the final 3 laps as Ray Meader, going side by side with Joe, is going to get the move done. So Ray Meader now through, crucially, into 5th position. Can he try and drag along the rest? Who knows, as Yellow goes side by side with Charlie into turn 1.
He went very late on the brakes once to get up the inside, but Charlie's just got the very good full and hard tyres now, has held it around the outside. So this Trixie's net Yellow's got 12 seconds of the penalties now. He's going to be dropping down towards the back of the field with that, and that's very surprising from someone who's probably had the fewest penalties this season.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, Atlas Kofo could still come into play. Noah is out of this, unfortunately, for Noah's perspective. My absolute downright terrible prediction, as always, in TTML F4, coming back to haunt me. Atlas Kofo now getting the move done on Joe, though. Down the inside in towards 8 and 9. The Mercedes nearly loses it, in fact, and now Joe's going to waltz alongside again, and the Irishman's going to retake the position. So, chopping and changing in terms of 7th and 8th, and Atlas Kofo slightly into the back there of Cowboy, I think, but he's into 7th. And Dundee, right on the back of Yellow, he's going to try and press him all the way into the Water Champion chicane.
Yeah, he's backed out of the move there. Dundee, if he wants this win, he's got to get a move on with it. He's got to pass Yellow quickly. Otherwise, he can't sit in behind. There's only a few laps left as Matt's the same now picked up a penalty, which is going to cost his chances at a potential
Oh!
win.
Atlas Kofo goes for a spin. Sorry to cut you off. Maxi now down the inside line of Ray Meader as well. And he's going to try and go all the way around the outside of turn 2. Doesn't quite get the move done. Ray Meader through and he's into 5th, but Atlas Kofo round. He's got left side end plate damage, and with Noah pitting in behind him, you may as well continue on and pick up 8th.
Yes. To be honest, I think Ray Meader's in with the potential to win here if he can keep it clean, which he has done for most of this race. He's within 6 seconds of the leaders and is within 3-second range of Storm at the moment. And with only 2 laps left, he's just got to keep it in the track limits. He can do this as Cowboy's tyres have gone off the cliff now. He's lost 3 seconds of few positions in the last few laps.
He has. He's done a really good job, though. I think he's drove a very astute race, but obviously the pace of the softs really coming back to bite him, really, and the Irishman now struggling down in 7th position. Maxi, I wouldn't say he's out of this either. He's down there in 6th, Ray Meader there in 5th. He's trying to drag him along onto the back of Storm, and Storm is going to be the real cork in the bottle. What is going to happen on this final lap remains to be seen. Charlie, though, onto the final lap of the race. He's now feeling pressure as if he's never felt pressure before in his life, and Yella does not go for the move down in towards turn 1 and will just sit and wait in behind and hope that Charlie makes a mistake.
Yeah, Yella's tyres, I think, are going off there. Just had a massive wobble there in the traction zone, struggling to keep the car intact there. But I think Maxi and Ray Meader want to work together. They have fewer penalties than the leaders up ahead, apart from Storms they're tied with. But
oh, Storm spun! Storm has gone off, he's done it hardly! Through the chicane of 4 and 5, through the right-hander, he's spun! I don't know how on earth he's done that, I'm not sure if he got caught in the grass, but Storm has spun, and he's down in P6, and now Ray Meader and Maxi have now brought into the race winning position! Goodness me, drama here in Canada, and Storm spun again!
This race has just been carnage and just all sorts from the start to finish, just unbelievable here, and if I'm not mistaken, if Ray Meader keeps his final chicane clean, he's going to win for the first time this season and get a good point of I think in P19 this time at the moment.
He is, but It's borderline 4/10 of a second, the gap. Charlie now pulling out to the line to win here in Canada. We look at the timing screens though. Ray Meeder, has he done it? I think he might have. Ray Meeder to the line.
Wow.
He does, but only by 2/10 of a second. Those tyres were going off right at the end of the race. But Ray Meeder, finishing in 4th position, has won the Canadian Grand Prix. Charlie in 2nd. Absolutely deserved that win, to be honest. He did everything right. He just picked up one too many penalties. It's as simple as that.
That was unbelievable. That's brilliant from driving from everyone in the field today. As I've said it multiple times, but Yellow's now finished P5 due to 12 seconds worth of penalties. And Cowboy on them set of soft tyres going nearly 20 laps under P6. That's a brilliant job there from the Irishman.
Fantastic job from the Irishman indeed, but how will that affect, of course, the standings? We'll tell you, well, Conti will tell you, of course, I'm sure, next week. Drive of the day, what about the in-game fans? Mr. Joel Callboy, I think definitely a shout-out, but my overall drive of the day has to be Charlie, I think.
Yeah, I can agree with that, but I'd say it's definitely between Ray Meeder and Charlie, because remember, Ray Meeder had the incident with the pit lane, he got spun out on the restart as well by Maxi Sam, and he's come back to win after all of that. That's brilliant. That's probably one of the best drives I've ever seen between them two drivers.
A heroic victory, you could call it, for the Norwegian as well. And Ray Meeder out on top here in Canada. Fantastic as well, because Aston Martin on the top step of the podium, of course, after Otmar, unpronounceable second name, left the team in real life. Ray Meeder, though, out on top from Charlie in 2nd. Dundee in 3rd, picked up the fastest lap of the race. And how on earth he ended up 3rd, I do not know as well. Maxi in 4th. Yeller down in 5th position from pole position. He did everything right. He picked up too many penalties, though, in the end. Joe Callboy on that to the softs in 6th and 13th on the grid. He gets the in-game driver of the day. Storm there in 7th drove well. He had a mistake though coming through turn 5, and that cost him possibly a place on the podium. Atlas Copo in 8th, and Turi, the only man not to pick up a single penalty. I think just for that he could get driver of the day. Noah in 10th. Lesty, Iverbrunreich and Key, the 3 DNFs out of the race, but Ray Meeder out on top. Charlie 2nd, Dundee in 3rd. Shall we try and get the top 3 in?
Yeah, feel.
Can do indeed. I'm going to try and do it through my iPad if I can. Unless you want to do it.
I can do it.
Fantastic stuff. But we will, of course, wrap up, of course, here in Canada, what has been an absolute, well, what you could call 2011-esque, but in the dry, I guess. Oh, but honestly, and Ivan Mike's just come into the Discord and said, stop commentator cursing me. Yeah. We both did that, though, so we both apologise.
Alright, Charlotte. Would you try to put a quick message in whilst I'm inviting them, to see if they're up for it?
Yep, I will send them, I'll put it in the Discord, and who was it again? Charlie, it was...
Dundee and Ray Meeder.
Ray Meeder, well, that's Charlie. I don't need to message him. He's already in, which is really good. We'll get Ray Meeder in if we can. I can't find Ray Meeder's PSN, which is weird. Very strange. Oh, it's NSR, at NSR, no wonder. Oh, honestly. Oh, there he is. Finally, we got him. Ray Meeder, and who was 3rd again?
3rd, Dundee.
Just give me a second, I'm literally... You can waffle on if you want.
Yes, that was probably the best race of the season so far. The driving standards were phenomenal from everyone. It was brilliant to see. After a nice long break from racing for a bit, everyone's just thought about everything a lot more. Have driven a lot more cleanly. Our race winner has joined us.
Our race winner has joined us indeed, and after a collision with Maxi, Ray Meeder has won the Canadian Grand Prix. I never thought I'd be saying those words, but you have. Talk us through it.
Yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, to be honest, I'm a bit afraid that he's gonna report me. Yeah, I think it was my fault because I thought he was gonna turn in, and when I saw that he didn't turn in, I expected him to brake a lot later. But yeah, anyways, I felt I had real good pace here. and even though I had that incident, I thought I was on for the win, and then I got spun around again, yeah, everyone had a penalty, so I was a bit shocked.
Yeah, everyone had penalties around you, and I think, honestly, out of the drivers that did have penalties, you were probably one of the ones that kept it clean. But just talk us through that incident, because you were saying there that you felt it was your fault. Did you think that Maxi was going to come into the pit lane in front of you? Because I've seen it before.
Yeah, to be honest, I was looking if he was going to turn in the corner, and when I saw that he drove a bit further ahead, then I thought, okay, he's going into the pits. And then he broke a lot earlier than what I'm used to get in the pits, and yeah, unfortunately that happened. So I'm very sorry for Maxi, and yeah, I think it was my fault, but I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure the stewards will have a look at that, certainly. Well, I caught it from your perspective on stream as well, so I think it's clear as day what happened really in terms of the incident. But talk us through that, because I think, honestly, the safety car was absolutely your saving grace tonight.
Yeah. I was wondering if I was gonna do a two-stop, but then I was in the DRS of Charlie, and well, I could just keep the medium pace for a lot longer than what the softs would actually do. And then, yeah, with the safety car after that incident, I was kind of saved, and then, yeah, my medium would last the whole race. So, yeah.
Still a bit shell-shocked, I think, by winning this race, to be honest. But honestly, a fantastic drive from yourself. I'm going to pass you over to Funky. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got one which is kind of important here. What was your mindset throughout that entire race? Because I know keeping it clean around here is very difficult, so I'd have been struggling if I was you.
Yeah, in the beginning I was just, yeah, I thought to myself, just no incident, please, no incidents. I was just keeping it calm. And then after that incident, I was a bit shocked, to be honest. And afterwards, I was sending it more and more, and therefore I got the penalty as well. But yeah, I thought besides all of that, kept it relatively clean.
Yeah, and that's probably the best mindset to have, is just keeping it clean pays off, and that was a brilliant win and a phenomenal drive, and especially from them two incidents, so congrats on the win.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, final question before you go, Ray. Next week, France, sprint race and the feature race, of course. How do you think you're going to get on?
To be honest, I don't really like the track, and I think my one-lap pace is horrendous. But my race pace should be good, so I hope this will be the beginning of a clean run the rest of the season here.
Let's hope so, because honestly, you absolutely deserved, I think, after what happened in that race, you deserved the win in the end. And congratulations on the win, and we'll go and let you enjoy your evening.
Thanks a lot.
Very welcome indeed. And now we'll move on to the man who finished in P2, but I think has captured the heart of many here in TTML F4. It is, of course, FRL Charlie. And Charlie, first of all, you drove every inch of that race absolutely perfectly. Just one too many penalties in the end. Talk us through it.
I mean, that's the third time that I've been robbed from a win in TTML because of penalties, and it is definitely annoying because I'm still trying to get that win in TTML. But I mean, considering that usually I don't feel that confident during Canada, considering I got P2, I'm happy. But I was mainly hoping for that win. I think that if Storm just didn't quite have that spin, he could have maybe slowed down a little bit and hold up Ray, was it? That was in... Yeah. I was hoping that he could have held up Ray for me, because I saw that he was going a lot more slower, because I knew that the mediums were going to fall off on like the last 8 laps, I'd say. So I knew that on those last laps I had to overtake them all to build the gap to all of the drivers to get that position. I'm going to see if I can I'm going to try and get a penalty removed if there was any instance between me and anyone, because I can't remember a thing. But, yeah, it was a good race. Storm still managed to get P7. Me and Jelly had a few wheel touches whilst we were battling in turns 1 and 2, because there were times where he wouldn't quite leave the biggest amount of space, but overall it was a good race, so I'm happy with the result, and hopefully that brings me into a better position in the championship.
Yeah, I think it definitely does. And obviously you say you've been robbed 3 times, I think, in terms of the race win. You never know, there might be a penalty coming the way of, obviously, Ray and the Maxi incident going into the pit lane. But you drove, as I say, every inch of that race absolutely perfectly. Just talk us through, I know what Funky said to Ray, just talk us through your mindset, because I know that final 2 laps, your heart must have been going completely out of your body.
I mean, because I was watching the stream as well whilst racing, once I heard you say that Ray could win this race, I looked at the leaderboard and saw that he was only 5.6 seconds behind, and I was like, I've lost this win again, haven't I? So I tried to push, but Jelly just decided to keep on battling with me a little bit, so that still didn't help me. But I was hoping that Ray would screw up his final sector. I think he lost a bit of time, but not enough time for the win.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think, honestly, you said perfectly, I think Storm, obviously without that spin, could obviously held them up, and it would have been the McLaren team game, I think, in that, and Storm still drove an excellent race, I've got to say, in 7th position. Funky, I'm going to come across to you, any questions?
Yeah, what were your, like, feelings throughout all them battles with Yelly and just, I think, Dundee and Ray Meader at times? Like, definitely the open stint with Ray Meader.
I was mainly just hoping that I wouldn't go off the track and crash out or anything, because of course I've not had the best of seasons there, because I've had quite a few DNFs because I've been quite unlucky. But yeah,
I think it's only right that I come in here and take Conti's position, and then you pick up a podium to finish in P2. But still, I think it's a fantastic drive from your perspective. And going into France next week, obviously the added sprint race and the feature race, how do you think you're going to get on?
I mean, when we had the feature race and sprint race in Imola, I managed to come back for P2 after invalidating my one-shot quali lap, but then of course didn't have a good feature race, I believe it was. Plus, France isn't usually a track that I've been the best at. I've had a few disqualifications, DNFs, and quite a lot of non-luck there, but yeah.
Well, you never know. This might be the race that turns your season completely around, and you'll just thank me for being here. But while you've done that as well, but go and enjoy your evening, Charlie.
Will do.
And that is the end of our interviews. Of course, Dundee, I think, was busy, so he couldn't join the interviews party, which is a shame. We could have heard, of course, from our P3 man. But that is the end for tonight's TTML F4 stream. Funky, I'm going to give the floor to you. Your overall driver of the day, please.
I know I've said it earlier, but I think it has to go to Ray Meader, especially after the struggles in the season. It's very tight between him and Charlie's. They both drove the hearts out. They both recovered from like earlier incidents and penalties. Which is phenomenal race all around.
Yeah, phenomenal race all around, and I think I've got to agree. I think Ray Meader certainly getting driver of the day. Big shout out as well. Charlie drove an absolute excellent race. So did Joe Callboy as well. Remember, on that set of soft Gunbanner tyre, he drove, what, 20 odd laps, I think, in the end on that set of softs. Absolute deserved a really good result. Just the tyres gave way. Watch out for him next round, of course. But that is the end of tonight's live stream. Of course, if you have liked the stream, like, comment, subscribe, tick the notification bell, of course, if you are new. And if you want to see more of this northern commentary box as well going on in TTML F4, you never know, we might be back before the end of the season. But I know Conti will be back next week to keep his seat warm, and he will be back, of course, alongside Funky Chicken next week, 8 PM UK time for the French Grand Prix. More action to come, of course, on TTML this weekend. TTML F1, myself, and hopefully Luke Etheridge going to be there alongside me in the commentary box. Luke currently has got COVID-19. We do wish him well, of course, in his recovery. I think it's only mild, which is I'm very glad to report. So hopefully Luke will be there on Sunday, and then more action. CWC, of course, F1 and F2 on a Monday, and then we are back to Wednesday racing with the EML qualifying grand finale, which is going to be very interesting indeed. The top 10 teams, of course, qualifying from that, and it's going to be myself and Luke Etheridge taking you through that. And then we're back again. TTML just keeps on rolling the bandwagon on Thursdays and Fridays, of course, at 8 PM UK time. But that is the end for tonight. For myself, from Funky, from everyone here in the interviews, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.